Healthy City is, talk about some context, and then some technical foundations of the site, some of our philosophy of like how we built it, and then showcase some of our work around access to healthcare in California. So Advancement Project, we are a next-generation multiracial civil rights organization. We work in, well, we have a DC office and a California office, and we work to, we champion the struggle for greater equity and opportunity for all, and we foster upward mobility in communities most impacted by economic and racial injustice. We strive to create innovative tools and work alongside communities and ignite social transformation. So really we're here to empower communities to improve lives of people who live there. And we're a value, mission-driven organization. You can see our values along the bottom there. HealthyCityorg is a flagship mapping application that was developed about 13 years ago. The goal of it to transform how decisions are made by creating innovative tools and methods that expose and resolve structural inequalities. And it's really grounded in this idea that your ability or people's ability to make healthy choices should not be determined by their race, their socioeconomic status, or the neighborhood in which they live. Healthy choices, I'm talking about like being able to eat fresh fruits and vegetables because you're able to buy them, or being able to live an active lifestyle because you live near a park and that's like clean and safe, or being able to get preventative health care instead of always having to wait until you're sick to actually access care. So like I said, it started in 2003. Obviously that's a very different time than now, both technologically and socially and in a lot of ways. At that time, like data was really closed off to a lot of people. I mean, including government, including foundations and people in power, but especially to people in high-need communities. And so what we did was we partnered with some Los Angeles-based organizations. 211 is a service referral organization, the Center for Nonprofit Management, UCLA, and United Way, to really start this to connect people to services in their areas and to inject data into policymaking. So over the years, we have about 16,000 active users of the site, and we get about 40,000 annual unique visitors to the site. It's a mapping application, data and mapping application built on PostGIS, on map server, and open layers. And it's just evolved over the years as kind of the technology's evolved and our needs have evolved. We're currently on our sixth iteration, scheduled to launch in the fall. So currently, it's kind of divided into 4 parts of the site. We have our service referrals, which can be anything from healthcare clinics to grocery stores to legal services. What we call Wikimaps, which is a collaborative mapping platform that allows you to like document assets and threats in your community. Some like charts and mapping tools to make like choropleth maps of demographics and graphs of different data sets, and then organization-specific group pages, what we call group pages, that an organization can put together to like showcase like maps that they've made or provide a narrative as to what they care about and what their issues are. So those are the components of the site as it stands now. Like obviously 2003 is like way different than it is today. The big thing is that data is way more available than it was back then. There's data depots, there's data.gov or geoplatform.gov. There's all sorts of places to get data and to get the service data that weren't there then, but are now. And so it doesn't really make as much sense for us to really focus on that anymore. And then also, the technology has really just evolved, and so part of our kind of retooling the site is to take advantage of the latest and greatest in web technology and in GIS technology. So in terms of like trying to stay relevant, so we are kind of dropping our data warehousing service referral function and moving into more of like the data curation moving more into framing the issues. We're a civil rights organization. We have like a stance on issues, and so we want to be able to elevate those. And then also to continue to focus on the wiki mapping portion, because there's really being able to map yourself and being able to map your community is really one of the most powerful things you can do. If you can say I have 40 liquor stores and 8 fast food restaurants in my neighborhood, and no place where I can buy fresh vegetables, and no safe space for me and my children to spend time together. Being able to document that is really, it's the first step to being able to rally the community, to be able to go to your representatives and go try to change things. So switching over just to a little bit more of the technical foundations. If you went to GIS school like I did, you always kind of hear this you want to move from data to information to knowledge, and then there's a fourth part of that, I think, is you move from knowledge to action. So it's really about how do you take the data and take what you can learn from the data and put it into practice so that you can actually improve the lives of everyone. And this is pretty simplified little diagram, but really it's about the research informing the data that we use on the site, informing the content that gets served into the browser, and then the user interacts with that. And then I think there's also kind of missing arcs back to data and back to research, where the user is also informing the research, and the user is also contributing their own data. So it's really trying to make it a comprehensive cycle. So evolution of the stack kind of over the years. So we're currently on version 4 of the site as our stable version. We did a version 5, or a version 5 was done, but it was basically version 4 ported to Drupal, and it wasn't much of an improvement really. So what we've done is really we wanted to think more broadly, kind of what I was talking about earlier, of how we can rethink what the purpose of the site is. So just kind of highlights moving from this kind of static server infrastructure into the cloud, both for our web servers and for our databases, using more types of web services, of map services that we can provide. So it's really based around WMS in the current version, but moving into using some topo.json and moving things into the client where it's capable of doing it. And then a big one is moving from kind of this custom PHP framework that my predecessor wrote into using Django and Python, and using that as our application base. And that allows us to really plug into a lot of different spatial libraries that Python has available, plus Python's faster, and plus I think Django is awesome. So on the mapping side, I think so we use map server really heavily on the site. I still really like map server, and I think we will continue to do that. We moved up from open layers 2 to 3, and then potentially that could get replaced by Leaflet or supplemented by Leaflet. And then just creating kind of a REST-based API set of services that the site can use, and then can also be available for other uses also. One of the goals here is kind of having this flexible data model, and this is kind of a super simplified house of data, I guess. But it really, our current database has, I want to say, 16,000 tables in it, because it's just over time, we have hundreds of different data sets plus all the user contributed data. It's just kind of completely out of hand. So really we wanted to be able to store lots of different data, including things that are uploaded by users or created by users, in a really consistent and efficient way. And so we're using this kind of, using in Django defining models to have, data sets have multiple fields, they have multiple features, and then fields have multiple values, and features have multiple values, and then a value is defined by a feature in a field. And really, I mean, it's very kind of simple structure, but it's really, really extendable, and I think works really well. Just quickly, our implementation values when we're kind of doing this, open, useful, engaging, flexible, and lasting. I think, in terms of open, I think, when we say open, we're talking about, more than even just using open source software and making the code open source. We're really talking about like making sure that everything that we create is totally accessible, totally free, totally democratic, and just kind of out there in the world, and no kind of like paid licenses or anything like that for it. So just to move on quickly, so one thing that we've been working on is this idea of framed pages, which is we have an opinion on issues. This is like how we can share our message. This is also a way for us to have a space to kind of prototype some things that will be kind of our new site and new features. And then it's also an opportunity, like while we're working on our version 6 that's going to launch in a few months, to go ahead and have an immediate impact. So we're funded to create 3 of them. The first one that we've done is access to healthcare. So I want to just show a couple screenshots from that. And if you're interested, you can go to the URL and kind of like click around. But essentially, this is based off 2 indices that we created that our like research team created to assess access to healthcare in California. So one is access to health coverage, and the second is access to primary care clinics. So kind of looking at the supply and the demand, and looking at those together, trying to identify where there's gaps. So the page was set up, 1, to kind of showcase those indices, 2, to kind of provide a deeper look into the indicators that make that up. So you can see, like on the screenshot on the right, you can, if you click on like those table headers, then you can look at percent communities of color. You can look at like the number of remaining uninsured population, and visualize the different counties in that way. I know we're running low. Cool. So 2 other kind of like main sections of it. We created this idea that you could make your own index. So we created these 2 indices by, doing kind of like a regression model on the that set of indicators that we decided on. But we've kind of created a system where you can turn on and off like the things that you care about. So you can ask a question like the last one, like, does the parole probation rate affect access to prenatal care in communities of color? So you can look at, how much or how people are accessing prenatal care, how communities of color are accessing it, and then you can see if you add the parole and probation rate as a factor into that, like, does that, significantly change what the distribution looks like in your index. And it's just like a 0 to 100 index that it comes up with. Similarly, like kind of digging deeper into those indicators and looking at them at like zip code level or tract level, kind of within regions. So here we're looking at Sacramento region on the right, for example. Cool. And a couple of things, that we use in terms of doing those. Obviously, we use map server and PostGIS and et cetera. 2 libraries that I think are really handy that I feel like some people don't know about. One is GeoStatsJS, which is like really great for creating breakpoints based on like JavaScript data. So you can do it completely on the client side. Which can be super, super handy. Datatables.js, if you have like really big server-based tables that you want to pull in to a web application, I think it works really well. And then pandas, you might have heard of, and MapScript. And I think that's all for time. So does anyone have questions? Yeah. Yeah. So we are like maintaining our partnership with 211, and we do want to be able to have some of that data on our site. But 211, the statewide 211 for California is actually embarking on, they want to be the service referral people. So they want to create and they're in the process of creating like their own service referral website. I mean, a number of counties, like Los Angeles County has like a website that you can go to and get 211 data based on like what you're looking for and where you live. And so they're trying to do that statewide. So I think, the idea is that we kind of move out of being the referral people, and they take that over because it's theirs, I guess. And that, we can still maintain the partnership to use that data, but not really be the like referral source for it. All right. Well, thanks everyone. And cheers.